My journey here at Iowa State began thousands of miles away from here. I'm from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. College has always been something very important for me, coming from low-income country. But doing a PhD, this is something that I never really thought of earlier on. Iowa State came as being one of the top agricultural engineering programs in the country. And that's how I applied, and I was fortunate to find my major professor, Dr. Dirk Meyer, who accepted to work with me.
I'm actually a first-generation college student, and so neither of my parents went to college, and this was just what I was going to do because they had never done it. It's very exciting because I really got to step into the phase that I had been wishing for since I was 6 years old, was to be a veterinarian, and I got to start that at Iowa State.
When you just walk on campus and there's something inside of you that just kind of says, this is it, that's what I felt when I came here. I initially came to Iowa State knowing that I wanted to study abroad. I just had no idea where or how long. Then I got in touch with Taylor Shire, that is in charge of the study abroad coordination at Ivy. And she kind of walked me through a very simplified conversation. We ended up narrowing it down to Florence, Italy. We were being taught by Italian people in Italian schools while I was there.
While I think my schooling is really important, I know it's not the only thing that attributes to my value as a person. I have worth as a friend and a teammate and a mentor and as a student. So learning to combine all of those things is something that I'm really proud of here at ICM.
I wanted to get that in-lab experience in terms of scientific research. I started working with Dr. Elizabeth Stegmuller in the kinesiology department. My group in her lab focuses on identifying how group therapeutic outreach programs can help with motor symptoms and mobility for persons with Parkinson's disease. That experience in itself was amazing.
I'm most proud of being part of the Engineers for a Sustainable World compost team, implementing the first residential composting system at Iowa State and hoping that expands to the rest of campus at some point.
So being an entrepreneurship major is kind of unique. It's a newer major here at Iowa State. I've taken some classes that make you kind of look at a lot of different things, but one that I took this semester was quite challenging. It really made you, if you were to try to make your own real business, realize what that would take. That's something that's just been extremely valuable.
Throughout my time, I got to serve in Student Government Senate, and so I served as both a graduate student senator and then also a College of Vet Med. And so that's been a great experience for me because veterinary school traditionally isn't stepping out of this bubble. But because I got to step out of this bubble, I got a little bit more from Iowa State.
I'm going to be the first person graduating with a PhD in my family, like ever. And so this is a big accomplishment. My family is really very proud.
One of the things that I'm the most proud of during my time at Iowa State is embracing my identity. In the past, I have felt pressured to kind of close it off just because I didn't look like the others around me, but once I came to Iowa State and started getting involved with the George Washington Carver Scholarship Program and Academy, NCORE, and iScore, I just felt the need to really embrace who I am and where I've come from.
I think to me, being a Cyclone means being a part of something that's larger than yourself, whether that's students of color or Res Life or volleyball. Those are so many different intersecting parts of my personality.
Being a Cyclone means a lot of things. It becomes part of your being because it challenges you to really question who you are and what you're worth and what you're capable of.
It means to me a person who's committed to being the best that they can be. Becoming yourself as a Cyclone, I think, really is fostered here at Iowa State.
Being a Cyclone means really being ready to help, being ready to serve whenever people need you, because that's the experience that I've had.
There's nothing that's happened that I wish didn't happen, because everything that happened, good, bad, ugly, sad, amazing, emotional, they all shaped who I am today and become who I need to be.
I had a lot of support, both family and friends, to push me along this goal and within this goal, right? I couldn't have done this without the support of my family and friends.
I do think my family is proud of everything I've accomplished so far.
I think I have a long list of people that have contributed to my success here at ISU. I think the biggest thank you goes to my mom. She's been my biggest supporter ever since I was little, and I'm so thankful for the sacrifices she's made so I can be here.
My family, my wife, and my daughter have been probably the biggest motivation. I'm really thankful to them.
My family is very proud of what I've accomplished.
Dear Hori, these past years you have worked hard and sacrificed many things, but let me tell you that it was not for nothing.
Now you're becoming a DVM, Dr. Goff, and even if you never report to surgery, I don't think you will ever understand how proud we are of you.
Thank you for being such an amazing son and person and friend.
It literally seems like yesterday that you were a freshman. You're such an amazing person, and I love you so very much.
You genuinely care for others, and you have demonstrated that through your time and talents at Iowa State and in the Ames community.
You have left this a better place than you found it. Touched the lives of many of your peers. You will forever be my second son.
Please be seated. Good afternoon. I'll wait for our students to be seated. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Jared Danielson, Senior Associate Dean in the Office of Academic and Student Affairs at the Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine. It is my true pleasure on behalf of the graduates and faculty to welcome you to the commencement ceremony of the Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine. At this time, I ask that you please silence your mobile devices. And at this time, please rise if you're able to do so as our 2023 graduate, Amber Yescas, sings our national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. We extend a warm welcome to all who are in attendance today and begin by congratulating the class of 2023. You have successfully completed 4 years of rigorous training and are about to graduate from the oldest and one of the finest public veterinary colleges in the United States and one of the finest veterinary colleges in the world. You have become an important part of the Iowa State family and enrich the lives of your fellow students, the faculty, staff, and others in the community. We are confident that you are leaving with an education that will serve you well and that you will represent Iowa State and the veterinary profession very well. Seated on the stage are faculty and distinguished speakers and guests. I would like to introduce members of the platform party who hold leadership positions in the college and at the university, as well as our distinguished guests. As I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Dr. Ruby Perry, Dean of Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Daniel Grooms, Dr. Stephen G. Julesgaard, Dean of Veterinary Medicine, College of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Wendy Winterstein, President of Iowa State University. Regent Nancy Dunkel, the Iowa Board of Regents. Dr. Sean Nicholson, President of the Iowa Veterinary Medical Association. Dr. Jeffrey Johnson, Laura and Russ Talbot Endowed President and CEO of Iowa State University Alumni Association. Dr. Scott McVeigh, Professor and Director, School of Veterinary Medicine and Biomedical Sciences, Associate Dean, Professional Program in Veterinary Medicine, University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Dr. Toya Younger, Senior Vice President of Student Affairs, Iowa State University. Dr. Amanda Fales-Williams, Moral Professor, Chair, and Tyrone D. Arts, MD, Chair for Teaching Excellence in Veterinary Medicine, Veterinary Pathology. Dr. M. Heather West Greenlee, Laura and Russ Talbot, Endowed Professor of Veterinary Medicine, Professor of Biomedical Sciences, and Associate Dean of the Graduate College. Dr. Monica Howard, Assistant Dean of Professional Student Success, College of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Michael Kimber, Professor and Chair of Biomedical Sciences. Dr. Kathy Miller, Professor and Chair, Veterinary Microbiology and Preventive Medicine. Dr. Paul Plummer, Professor, Veterinary Diagnostic and Production Animal Medicine, Anderson Chair of Veterinary Medicine, Executive Director of National Institute of Antimicrobial Resistance Research and Education, and Associate Dean of Research and Graduate Studies, College of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Jessica Ward, Associate Professor and Phyllis M. Clark Endowed Professorship, Veterinary Clinical Sciences, and Associate Dean for Extramural Student Programs, Veterinary Administration. Thank you. The platform party may be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Daniel Grooms, the Dr. Stephen G. Julesgaard Dean of Veterinary Medicine. Dr. Grooms became the Dr. Stephen G. Julesgaard Dean of Veterinary Medicine at Iowa State University on October 1st, 2018. At Iowa State, Dean Grooms oversees the College of Veterinary Medicine, its 5 academic departments, the Lloyd Veterinary Medical Center, and the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Grooms.
Thank you, Dr. Danielson. Members of the class of 2023, on behalf of the faculty, the staff, your fellow VM1, 2, and 3 student colleagues, and the thousands of proud alumni of the Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine, it is indeed my honor to first congratulate you and second, welcome you to this wonderful profession. A round of applause for the class of 2023. So, over the past 4 years, each of you has made a personal commitment to this wonderful profession. I will say it has been an unusual 4 years. As first-year students, your classes were interrupted at spring break by COVID-19. I'm sure each and every one of you remember that. You persevered through a hybrid second year with flying colors, and then you entered into a relatively normal third year. And then finally, during this past year, working side by side with our world-class faculty and staff and other leaders of our profession, you helped provide cutting-edge and compassionate care to patients and clients. You worked hard, you laughed, you cried, you learned, you healed, and you saved lives, both animals and humans. And for that, you deserve a round of applause. This year has been an important year in the history of the College of Veterinary Medicine, the 144th year of our existence. For the past 9 months, we have celebrated the centennial of the graduation of one of the College of Veterinary Medicine's most accomplished and distinguished graduates, Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson. Dr. Patterson was a champion of human rights, equality, and opportunity during his entire lifetime and career. And this celebration has highlighted the immense impact he had on our profession, on higher education, and on tens of thousands of students. Let me remind you of some of the highlights of this past year. We started the year with our librarian, Brad Coonan, documenting the life and legacy of Dr. Patterson at our first day of class DEI lecture. At homecoming, we celebrated with members of the Patterson family, who affectionately call him Uncle Fred, as he received the Stang Award, the college's highest alumni award. Monthly, we awarded the Patterson Spirit Award to students, faculty, and staff for their efforts in creating a welcoming community for all. At the beginning of the year, the college established an endowment in Dr. Patterson's name that will forevermore provide resources to support student, faculty, and staff success. An endowment that I am proud to share with you today is nearly near its $1 million goal. In January, we welcomed Tara Grenage-Pulley, an alumnus of both Tuskegee as well as the College of Veterinary Medicine here at Iowa State, as she shared how the legacy of Dr. Patterson helped shape her career as a distinguished scientist. In February, we welcomed Latonia Craig, the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer of the American Veterinary Medical Association, as she gave the keynote address at the winter IVMA meeting. And speaking of the AVMA, I hope you heard the wonderful news that was just announced recently by the AVMA that they will be honoring the legacy of Dr. Patterson by naming an award after him that recognizes AVMA members who have impacted diversity, equity, and inclusion within our profession. And then finally, in just a few minutes, you will hear from my colleague and my friend, Dr. Ruby Perry, who serves currently as the Dean of Tuskegee College of Veterinary Medicine, a college which Dr. Patterson found in 1945, soon after he became the president of Tuskegee University. It has been a wonderful celebration, and I'm so glad that you, the class of 2023, have been an active part of this celebration. And in fact, it is entirely possible that 100 years from today, another Iowa State Dean of Veterinary Medicine will be addressing a similar audience of graduates, reflecting on the contributions to society that one or more of you have made. Now, before you question that assumption, remember, just 100 years ago today, Dr. Patterson, along with 16 of his classmates, were sitting in your seats. The speaker in 1923 was George Roberts, who at the time was the vice president of the National City Bank of New York. In his remarks, Mr. Roberts talked about innovation. Where have we heard that before, President Munnerstein? Perseverance, resiliency, and hard work. I believe that Dr. Patterson heard those words and took his experiences from Iowa State and went on to make a difference by working hard, building great teams, and persevering against significant odds. And I know that you also will take your education, your training, your work ethic, your values, your dedication to this wonderful profession, and just like Dr. Patterson did, you will make the world a better place. As you move forward today in making that difference, I would like you to remember that your success was made possible through the encouragement you received from family, friends, fellow classmates, and mentors. Please take a moment today, sometime today, to thank those and personally acknowledge those folks that supported you during your journey. Whether it's a hug, a high five, phone call, text message, whatever works for you, thank them for their support as you move forward into your career. There's also another special group of people that I want to recognize. They have had a profound role in shaping you into veterinarians over the last 4 years. These people have terrorized you with terminology, life cycles, metabolic pathways, drug dosages, protocols, differential lists, cranial nerves. Dr. Greenlee, cranial nerves, thank you. State and federal regulations, and the list goes on and on and on and on. They have taught you medical reasoning, problem solving, critical thinking, case management, communication skills, compassion, teamwork. They have challenged you not because they are cantankerous, but because they care about you and they want you to be the very best that you can be. I know for a fact that the faculty and staff of the College of Veterinary Medicine are so very proud of you. Please join me in thanking our faculty and staff who are joining us here today and those that are still in the college continuing to teach and deliver healthcare services to our patients. Could I have the faculty and staff join us today by please rising, and let's give them a round of appreciation. Please stand. Thank you. In closing, I do want to challenge you to think beyond this day, this moment in time. I challenge you to aspire to play a leading role in this exciting, rapidly changing profession that you're about to change. I challenge you to think big and think bold, just like Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson did. Congratulations on your remarkable accomplishments. Welcome to this noble profession, and best wishes on your next great adventure. One more round of applause for the class of 2023.
Thank you, Dean Grooms. It's now my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker. Dr. Rubiel Perry, DVM, MS, PhD, DACVR, is the Dean and Professor of Veterinary Radiology at the Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. She is currently President of the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges, AAVMC, previously served a two-term secretary position at the AAVMC's Board of Directors. She's a member of the AAVMC Minority Serving Institutions Working Group and co-chair of the AVMA, AAVMC Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. Dr. Perry is dual graduate of Tuskegee University, where she received her BS degree in Animal and Poultry Science and the Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree. She completed a small animal internship at Tuskegee University and a radiology residency at Michigan State University, where she also received the master's degree in microbiology. Dr. Perry decided to remain in academia and expanded her education with a PhD degree in educational leadership. She wears the hat of several firsts, including the first alumna to be named both interim dean and dean of a U.S. veterinary school, the first African-American female board-certified veterinary radiologist in the American College of Veterinary Radiology, the first veterinary alumna to serve as acting president of Tuskegee University, and most recently, the first African-American woman to now hold the president's position at the AAVMC. Dr. Perry has served in numerous other leadership positions at Tuskegee and Michigan State University and in numerous professional associations, committees, and task groups. She has been honored with a number of awards, including the Zoetis Champion of Diversity Award, the 2022 Iverson Bell Award, which is the AAVMC's Professional Excellence Award, and most recently is the recipient of the Bridge Club Icon Award. Dr. Perry is actively engaged in community service that increases awareness of the veterinary profession and advancing veterinary medical education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Perry.
Thank you, Dr. Danielson. As you know, for all of us here, it's not about any of us. It's about these graduates in the class of 2023. So good afternoon, Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine family. I acknowledge President Winterstein, the university officials, the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, students, returning alumni, supporters, and the family and friends of these honorees. Thank you, my colleague and friend, Dean Dan Grooms, for the invitation to speak at the 2023 commencement, of which I stand with humility to honor and celebrate these veterinary medical graduates. Class of 2023, congratulations on your achievements and accomplishments, and I am excited to know that you would join me and 120,000 veterinarians in the U.S. as colleagues in one of the best professions to spend the rest of your career. It is an honor, it is a pleasure, and a joy to be a part of your celebration, even if it's only for a short period of time today. I am very appreciative of the hospitality extended to me from the beginning and throughout the process for my arrival at Iowa State University. This is not my first trip. This is not my first visit, and I look forward to many returns in the future. It is also an honor to be a part of the centennial celebration of Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson's graduation from ISU CVM in 1923, where he left a rich legacy and on to establish the School of Veterinary Medicine in 1945. As difficult, I am sure it was, Dr. Patterson embraced his journey at Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine. He shared his story to keep the historical connections between these two universities relevant and a living testimony of his legacy. So to you, my soon-to-be colleagues, I want you to embrace your journey. I want you to tell your story, and I want you to leave your legacy. Each of you has been given this opportunity to realize your career of becoming a veterinarian because of those visionaries who sacrificed and struggled in 1879 so that Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine could become the first public veterinary school in the United States and has graduated over 7,500 veterinarians, and now you're part of that history. So now embrace that journey that has been afforded to you so that you can tell your story to inspire others to become veterinarians and leave a legacy for those who follow. However, remember, you did not do it alone. Although sometimes you may feel that way, and I can attest to that because of my own veterinary journey, and on those shoulders I stand and not ever to be forgotten. At this moment, you are filled with joy, and those 4 years have finally come to an end so that you can celebrate and become doctors. You try not to remember or even think about how the pandemic almost tried to kill your dream, or even think about parts of your journey through the rigorous veterinary curriculum that made you doubt, or made you feel that the professors and clinicians have achieved so much and you have so much to learn. But look at you now. You made it with many accomplishments and achievements. You have made your families, your mentors, your faculty and staff, and the veterinary alumni on the shoulders you stand very proud. So embrace that journey. Let's take a moment to do a quick reflection. When you received your acceptance letter to enter into the first year of veterinary school in the class of 2023, you were so excited and anxious at the same time. A classroom filled with 155 students coming from all 4 quadrants of the United States, representing 31 states and international. You found that meeting students from various states helped you connect and develop a bond of friendships that will last for a lifetime. You all shared a common thread to become veterinarians. Your love for animals and your passion to be the voice for protecting animal welfare. Some of you started with a sure discipline in mind, but found that veterinary medicine is so diverse with opportunities that you have made change your trajectory. That is perfectly okay. When I graduated in 1977, that was called School of Veterinary Medicine at that time, my desire was to become a small animal surgeon. As I reflect on my own journey, I was afforded an opportunity to pursue radiology. Now, although I had a great radiology professor, that discipline was not in my stars nor on my radar. During class and clinics, I remember saying, reading radiographs just can't be this difficult because I just don't see what the radiologist is seeing. So when I finished my radiology residency at Michigan State University, I vowed that I would be that kind of instructor that made diagnostic imaging fun to learn and exciting to teach. I embraced my educational journey when I was hired on faculty for many years at Michigan State University and Tuskegee University. Your journey will not be the same as when you enter the veterinary profession. It will change as you grow professionally and personally. You have much to offer the community you will be serving and our beloved profession. Embrace the beginning of your journey by reflecting on the celebratory white coat ceremony, a venue with tears of joy and excitement when you were done with the white coat by the veterinarian who you selected to be a part of this proud accomplishment. As you continue the veterinary pathway, take a moment to embrace this part of your journey filled with those memorable moments in the classroom, acquiring the knowledge that seems to be a ton of courses in year 1 and 2 that you needed as a foundation to build clinical applications. Embrace the journey, including the memories of those courses that you really enjoyed and you were so excited to get to class. Those courses that you happily daydreamed at moments, and those courses that you fell asleep silently, although your eyes were opened. Then year 3, when you reached your major milestone on your veterinary journey, knowing that you only had 1 more year to go, but also the excitement and some anxiety of now applying the preclinical knowledge to clinical cases as you move to the clinical phase of your journey. It was a realization you were soon to become a veterinarian and have the responsibility and obligation to uphold the integrity inherent in the practice of veterinary medicine. And finally, year 4, with the clinical training in the Lord Veterinary Medical Center and external programs where you had so many memorable experiences, learning the many facets of the veterinary profession to get you prepared as a practice-ready veterinarian. You have demonstrated competency in knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, aptitudes, and behaviors in the practice of veterinary medicine. Embrace that wonderful journey. Now, tell your story and leave a legacy. So let's connect the dots. It's an honor to share the rich history of Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Medicine, which was actually envisioned in 1945, but who we've mentioned before by Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson. Americans continue to feel the effects of Dr. Patterson's work and dedication to improving society and impacting social change. Interestingly, he was labeled by his classmates as least likely to succeed. What Dr. Patterson accomplished and the contributions he's made to the veterinary profession after he left Iowa State University were possible because he was given an opportunity to achieve his career as a veterinarian right here on these hallowed grounds. The college's centennial celebration is one of the most accomplished and influential alumni, has such a powerful impact on not only this community, but also extends to our community at Tuskegee University. On these hallowed grounds of Iowa State University, each of you stand on the shoulders of those pioneers who sacrificed and struggled to develop a pathway so that each of you can realize your dream of becoming a veterinarian. At Tuskegee University, the same message rings loud and clear, that the graduates must not forget their alma mater, and I am sure you all hear the same message. So why is that even important? Why should we even care? If I asked you or a journalist asked you to tell your story, many of you will reflect on the question on your veterinary application or interview. Why do I want to be a veterinarian, and why did I choose Iowa State University? You could have gone to any veterinary school in the country. If you continue to love this profession as I do, you will always get that question or a question similar, because it will be each of you inspiring those bright young minds of young people aspiring to have a career in veterinary medicine. A story is a powerful, influential tool, and it's not how you tell it, it's why you tell it. According to the author Kate Hurst, Stories have the ability to help us learn about others and to find understanding and empathy for them and their situations. Whether we actually know the individual or not, hearing their story evokes feelings within us. Learning to relate to others and empathize with them is so important in developing social skills and making friends. Telling your story is important to teach someone lessons about life. Your life as you journeyed through this beloved place as veterinary alumni and inspire others to follow your pathway. Some of you are veterinarians because of your parents, a family member, a mentor, or a friend who told you their story and you were inspired to pursue their career. Perhaps you found that passion while working, volunteering, or observing in a veterinary environment. That was me. I grew up on a farm, but my passion was to become a math major. By having to work my way through college, I was inspired when I worked as a kennel worker in a veterinary clinic. It was there that I was enlightened to a whole new world of medicine. I did not forget my journey. I tell my story to inspire someone else, and I leave a legacy to make the pathway of those following behind me better than I found it. Being the only resident and faculty member of color in radiology at Michigan State University gives me comfort to know that there were champions there to help me succeed in spite of the biases, the microaggressions, and the obvious message that I did not belong there. Therefore, I reflect on the message by our founder, Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson, who said, "I learned a lesson with regard to race that I never forget. How people feel about you reflects the way you permit yourself to be treated. If you permit yourself to be treated differently, you are condemned to an unequal relationship." And that's how I survived and thrived at Michigan State for over 20 years on faculty. I am thankful for Dr. Patterson's stories lived through each of us veterinary graduates from Tuskegee University, and hope those words impact your lives also. You have your own set of challenges along this journey, and there will be more to come. So I encourage you to share your story regardless of where you land in this veterinary profession, a profession that has so much to offer and so many aspects to pursue. In 1933, 61 years later, Dean Charles Henry Stain had a vision to change the name of the then known Division of Veterinary Medicine to College of Veterinary Medicine here at Iowa State. Dr. Stain recognized that the college was correct in function, but not in name, to reflect its greatness. He also knew he had to face challenges and barriers to achieve the goal that had become stagnated in ongoing discussions for many years. However, he was willing to push and had the courage for change. At some point, Dr. Stain knew the discussions had to end and action had to begin. When I was here at Iowa State College of Veterinary Medicine in February of this year, I had the awesome opportunity to walk down the hallway displaying the history of this college. I got a sense of appreciation with humility and gratitude for those who fought for the survival and sustainability of not only this college, but also the veterinary profession. And because of his courage and vision, on July 4th, 1959, more than 20 years after his death, the school was college in both name and fact. What an amazing way to honor Dean Stain as a courageous leader by honoring Dr. Frederick D. Patterson with his award. In spite of the many challenges and barriers of racism he faced, he embraced his journey and was proud to have earned the Distinguished Doctor of Veterinary Medicine right here. In spite of the overt and systemic racism encountered and endured, he did not lose sight of why he was here at Iowa State, but what he wanted to achieve, the foundational skills of leadership, integrity, initiative, motivation, persistence, hard work, resilience. He learned those right here at this college, and he used those skills to build extended communities and transform lives of poor people in the South. When Dr. Patterson began his journey to Tuskegee, he was taught at Iowa State that there is nowhere in the world can you find a greater commitment of people helping people than a land-grant university. And he modeled that concept at Tuskegee University as a land-grant institution. Dr. Patterson's journey at Iowa State University lives on through his legacy. Over the course of 87 years, he inspired all Americans, and particularly African Americans. His personality and influence with people worked strategically to positively impact policy and practice in higher education. So less than 1 year before his death, he received the nation's highest civilian honor with the Presidential Award of Freedom. The inscription says, "By his inspiring example of personal excellence and unselfish dedication, he has taught the nation that in this land of freedom, no mind shall go to waste. Therefore, when you see a need, you have the courage to take action and make a difference in this profession. You are equipped with the knowledge and life skills to be the first or a part of a team of firsts to join the momentum of change. Stand up and do the right thing to make our profession the best that it can be. Be the voice of animal welfare and protection of the public, as stated in the veterinarian's oath." So in closing, I leave you with the words that I started with. Embrace your journey, tell your story, and leave your legacy. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your celebration, and congratulations, colleagues, class of 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perry, for those inspiring remarks. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Wendy Winterstein, president of Iowa State University. Dr. Winterstein became the 16th president of Iowa State University in 2017. She's the first woman and only second ISU graduate to hold the university's highest office. For more than 40 years, Dr. Winterstein has served Iowa State in several capacities, from Extension and Outreach Associate to the holder of the first endowed deanship at Iowa State in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. In her 6th year as president, Dr. Winterstein is advancing Iowa State as one of the nation's most student-centric leading research universities, where all students have the opportunity to work hard, succeed, and thrive. Please welcome President Wendy Winterstein, president of Iowa State University.
Thank you, Dr. Danielson. It's a pleasure to be here to congratulate the class of 2023 on your graduation from Iowa State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. I want to thank today's commencement speaker, Dr. Ruby Perry, for her wonderful remarks to our graduates. I also want to thank Dr. Sean Nicholson, president of the Iowa Veterinary Medical Association, for being part of the ceremony. We are very grateful to have such strong support from the veterinary medical profession. I would also like to take a moment to recognize Stephen G. Julesgaard, Dean of Veterinary Medicine, Daniel Grooms. Please join me in a round of applause. Veterinary medicine has a very proud tradition at Iowa State University, a tradition of national leadership in research, education, extension, and service, a tradition of being the first public veterinary medicine college in the nation and ranked as one of the very best, a top recipient of USDA research funding in the country, the only national center devoted to swine education, and the only veterinary diagnostic laboratory in Iowa. This tradition of excellence has enabled the college to make exceptional contribution in meeting the needs of animal agricultural industry and companion animal owners, and preparing outstanding veterinary medicine professionals of the future. You, our graduates, have been a part of this tradition from the day you entered the College of Veterinary Medicine, and today we applaud you on the successful achievement of your goal to become a doctor of veterinary medicine. Your persistence and determination to accomplish your goals truly is extraordinary. Indeed, we extend to you our sincere congratulations and our very best wishes for success in your careers. To the family members and friends who are with us today, who have supported these graduates on their educational journeys, we say thank you. And again, we give our thanks to the dean and to his administrative team and to the faculty and staff of the college. Congratulations to them for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, President Winterstein. It is now our pleasure to present the graduates for graduation, the candidates for graduation. Will the candidates for graduation please stand? President Winterstein, these candidates have satisfactorily completed the requirements for the degree Doctor of Veterinary Medicine and have been recommended by the college and university faculties and approved by the State Board of Regents for the degree Doctor of Veterinary Medicine.
It is my pleasure to announce that in recognition of the satisfactory completion of your studies in the College of Veterinary Medicine and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents, State of Iowa, I now confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. The diploma, now to be placed in your hands, shall stand forever as evidence of your high academic rank. Congratulations.
Marshals, please present the graduates. Dean Grooms, assisted by Dr. McVeigh, will now award the diplomas to the graduates. Upon receipt of the diploma, they will be greeted by President Winterstein as they are led by the marshals and escorted by college faculty. The marshals for today's ceremony chosen by the graduates are Dr. Gail Brown, Senior Lecturer, Veterinary Microbiology and Preventive Medicine, and Dr. Justin Brown, Assistant Professor, Veterinary Diagnostic and Production Animal Medicine. Also, as chosen by the graduates, those placing the doctoral hoods will be Dr. Jamie Copper, Assistant Professor in Veterinary Clinical Sciences, and Dr. Jessica Ward, Associate Professor in Phyllis M. Clark Endowed Professorship, Veterinary Clinical Sciences and Assistant Dean for Extramural Student Programs. Candidates will be graduated in alphabetical order as they appear in the program. We ask that you please hold any lengthy applause until all the diplomas have been awarded. The names will be read by Dr. Monica Howard, Assistant Dean for Professional Student Success. Marshals, please prepare the first graduate.
Maritza Deanne Abebe. Ashley Adam. Brittany L. Albers O'Brien. Alita Anderson. Aurora Joanne Arevalo. Trevor Tiarn Arun Siripate. Brittany Renee Berg. Savannah K. Bergeron. Natasha Marie Bettine Score. Caleb Michael Breshnia. Catherine Marie Breshnia. Brandon Robert Burris. Brittany Byers. Ivan Ignacio Castillo. Elizabeth Amy Sipo. Jessica Ann Cheney. Christina Melissa Chester. Jeanette Marie Clampett. Cassandra Rita Clark. Madeline Rose Colosimo Roth. Isaac Cooey. Ellen Teresa Dauphiné. Caitlin Ann Deal. Jacqueline Marie DeVito. Peyton Dean Dutcher. Madison Ann Derflinger. Elizabeth Maureen Elliott. Luke Allen Endicott. Kaylee Breon Enders. Catherine Margaret Eflin. Micah T. A. Esala. Madison Mary Elizabeth Esker. Hannah Nicole Evans. Maya Valerie Farber. Amanda Marie Farr. Allie J. Feinberg. Lulu Figueroa. Rochelle Christine Fisher. Madison Ray Fitzgerald. Tara Allen Friend. Tristan Renee Fulton. Melissa Garcia Rodriguez. Megan Gard. Brandon Lee Garrison. Maria Jolene Geisler. Kelsey Nicole Gerwig. Abigail Singer Gilman. Erin Marie Gore. Bailey Renee Goff. Brennan Wayne Goodman. Katie Ann Faith Graham. Shauna M. Gross. Bailey D. Hallgren Meehan. Molly Ann Heyman. Abigail M. Hart. Audrey Hart. Kristen Hasagawa. Nicholas Hayes. Victoria Lindsay Hegstrom. Gabriella Kathleen Henthorn. Katie Mae Higgins. Olivia Lanan Olguin. Taylor Ann Horton Cashup. Veronica Hua. Kelly Smith Hubbard. Erin Mary Hughes. Jake Daniel Hunterdos. Chelsea A. Ayanarella Cervantes. Amber Cristina Illescas. Ellis Catherine Johnson. Eugen Young. Marissa Starr Kegley. Jamila Iman Kelly. Jessica Diane Kelly. Samantha Elizabeth Kelm. Caitlin L. Knudsen. Christopher Brian Kovac. Chelsea Lynn Kramer. Kyle Krelwitz. Austin Eldon Kruger. Natalia Kuzman. Talissa Faith Quanvig. Cody Alexander Little. Devin Tyler Lockman. Colin Marburger. Kristen Evelyn Marciniak. Kiala Kui Matsumoto. Erin Mary Maxted. Jared Daniel McGinley. Jessica Esther Masick. Madeline May Misfelt. Erica Nicole Moscoso. Allison Paige Moschuk. Alexis Lynn Nelson. Kyle Joseph Nisley. Abigail Ann Novotny. Kyle Michael O'Neill. Vibhuti Oberoi. Laura Elizabeth Oliva. Cannon Alyssa Olson. Amanda K. Pariseau. Madison Erin Payne. Amanda Morgan Pinnock. Nicole Alejandra Perez Nieves. Tyrell Daniel Peters. Lauren Joan Pipitone. Dalton Michael Potterbaum. Kylie Jean Potoff. Alexandra Anna Presler. Miriam Elizabeth Reed. Lana Renee Regina. Ashley Marie Reiner. Sydney Catherine Richardson. Meredith Caitlin Rigmaiden. Monty A. Roberts. Alejandra Robles. Kathleen Marie Roth. Mackenzie Marie Roy. Kristen Rochelle Rule. Persia Salahi. Kate Jean Sandage. Marangeli Santiago Sanabria. Jessica Joanne Schmidt. Riley May Schmieder. Sarah Marie Schulke. Nicole Andrea Sedevi. Rachel K. Shelengowski. Claire Patricia Sintek. Brittany Michelle Skaggs. Robert Michael Skelly. Alexis Renee Smith. Taylor Ann Summercourt. Elaine Rose Steffel. Eleanor G. Stengline. Deborah Hannah Porter Stoner. Andrea Marie Strong. Claudia Megan Swanger. Catherine Marie Tyler. Isabella May Thrasher. Samantha Tyrone. Kara Ann Velasic. Amber Lee K. Van Hulzen. Sarah E. Vanderwall. Haley Marie Vallant. McKenna Von Rensel. Shayla Ann Warwick. Michaela Christine White. Madison J. Williams. Katie Leanne Willoughby. Allison Ray Witt. Kyla Ann Wadlevich. Siyu Xiao. Clara Marie Young. David A. Zillig.
Will all of the graduates please rise? Please turn to face the audience. Parents, relatives, and friends, please join me in recognizing the Iowa State University College of Veterinary Medicine class of 2023. All right. Graduates, please stay where you are, facing backwards, and the audience may be seated. I was almost too late, wasn't I? You'd already turned around. Graduates, before you are all those who have assembled today to recognize you obtaining this degree. Please show your recognition of their support and contribution for you having achieved this milestone. Thank you. Graduates, you may be seated. Academic excellence continues to be a hallmark of education at Iowa State University. We know that all of the graduates of the College of Veterinary Medicine are outstanding scholars and outstanding citizens. Each year we give special recognition for exemplary scholastic achievement. Graduation with distinction signifies achieving an academic grade point average of 3.5 or above, where a 4.0 is the highest achievable grade for all courses taken in the professional veterinary curriculum. These individuals are identified by their honor cords and in your program. It is with high regard that I recognize them publicly at this time. Graduating cum laude with a cumulative GPA of 3.5 to 3.69, graduates, please stand. You can remain standing. Joining them, graduating magna cum laude with a cumulative GPA of 3.7 to 3.89, graduates, please stand. And joining them, graduating summa cum laude with a cumulative GPA of 3.9 to 4.0, graduates, please stand. Thank you. You may be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sean Nicholson, President of the Iowa Veterinary Medical Association, to lead our new graduates in reciting the veterinarian's oath. Dr. Nicholson.
It is my honor and pleasure to stand before you today and lead you in reciting your veterinary oath. It's almost exactly 25 years ago when I sat where you are now and said those same words. And I didn't really think about it much at the time, but as Dr. Perry stated, and many others have stated, it's a journey, not a destination. Take it from me, there will be highs and lows along the way, but if you stay true to your oath and to yourselves, your journey will be remarkable and will lead you to places, great places you've never dreamed of. So once again, graduates, will you please rise? And if you would repeat after me as I read the oath line by line. Being admitted to the profession of veterinary medicine, I solemnly swear to use my scientific knowledge and skills for the benefit of society through the protection of animal health and welfare, the prevention and relief of animal suffering, the conservation of animal resources, the promotion of public health, and the advancement of medical knowledge. I will practice my profession conscientiously, with dignity, and in keeping with the principles of veterinary medical ethics. I accept as a lifelong obligation the continual improvement of my professional knowledge and competence. Graduates, welcome to the best profession on earth.
Thank you, Dr. Nicholson. It's now my privilege to introduce Dr. Jeff Johnson. Dr. Johnson is a 2014 PhD graduate of Iowa State University in Higher Education Administration. He's the 8th individual to serve as Chief Executive of the Iowa State University Alumni Association in its 145-year history. In 2015, Dr. Johnson became the first endowed president and CEO of an alumni association anywhere in the country. Today, he carries the title of Laura and Russ Talbot Endowed ISUAA President and CEO after securing a $2.5 million gift to establish the nation's first alumni relations endowed position. This distinction is also the first non-academic endowed position at Iowa State University. For more than 20 years, Dr. Johnson's contributions to Iowa State and the association are numerous. He's been responsible for improving the association's overall funding, spearheading the vision, design, and fundraising and construction of the $13.5 million ISU Alumni Center, and moving the association to second place in paid membership in the Big 12 Conference, just to name a few. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeff Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Danielson. Greetings, Iowa State's newest alumni, members of the College of Veterinary class of 2023. How cool is this? You are now officially Cyclones for life. And not only do you carry the title now of doctor, you are now have an official title of Iowa State University alumni. You are now one of us. And as we say at the Iowa State University Alumni Association, welcome to the after party. For some of you, I know you are already alumni due to your having received other degrees from this prestigious institution. But thanks again for choosing Iowa State. Now I have some good news to share with you today. So sit back, take this in. All of you are going to receive an already paid for one-year membership to all the benefits, services, and opportunities connected to the ISU Alumni Association. This is a first. And let me tell you how and why this happened. A group of generous alumni and friends, close to 1,000 of them to be exact, came together during this year's Cardinal and Gold Gala event in Des Moines and from around the world through the association's Sustaining Donor Program, and made financial gifts to purchase a one-year gift membership for all members of the class of 2023. So for the first time, I'm not asking you for anything. That's right, these alumni wanted every single one of you to get a one-year, already paid for membership to the association. I want to make sure you got that, so I need you to do a little reply back to me. These alumni colleagues have already paid your first year membership. Can you tell me who they paid that for? Way to go. But I also think that deserves a cyclone applause. Now, you need to know that their desire was simply to salute you and not add any additional expense to you or your family as you make this transition from students to alumni. But to make this official, there's one thing they ask of the association and one thing they are asking of you. They ask for us to make it easy for you to access and accept this gift membership, and we've done that, and all you have to do is go to our website and activate your gift membership. You can do that by going to our website, which is isualum.org. I'm going to ask that you do that today or at least by May 31st. We'll also be sending you an email with this information as a helpful reminder. Your promise is that you will not delete my first email to you. Now, once you activate this gift membership, you will gain access to the online alumni directory that connects you with alumni in your community, adds you to the mailing list of the Iowa Stater Members Only magazine, and gives you access to online discounts, the opportunity to receive new grad tip sheets and programs, and special member invitations. Please know that you join the ranks of more than 279,000 Cyclones everywhere who are making their communities and the world a better place. These Iowa Staters live in all 99 counties of Iowa, all 50 states of the United States, and more than 153 countries. But also, being university alumni is a statement of accomplishment. It means you have bona fide relationship to a place and are linked to its future. Your and Iowa State's identities are mutually intertwined. You also get to decide how that relationship matures and how you will use it to advance your goals and its aspirations. So in closing, 5 things that I'm asking you to remember. No matter what you do or where you go, you will always be a member of this prestigious higher education family. The university and all who work here will always be interested in what you do and what you become. Second, make Iowa State visible in your daily life. Wear your school colors, sport a license plate or a license plate cover, hang your diploma, and place an Alumni Association membership decal on your vehicle. By doing these simple acts, you're sure to connect with other Iowa Staters. Third, alumni help fund building projects. They invested in your faculty and programs. They also invested in you through scholarships, conference attendance, and other ways. You and alumni of the future will largely determine what your children, your grandchildren, and others will find when they matriculate to Iowa State. When you're able, I encourage you to consider giving back as well. Number 4, keep in touch. Come back to visit campus. Take road trips with your college buddies and join a local alumni club. If you have a change of address, be sure to let the association know in order that we may put you in touch with other alumni in your community. And number 5, renew the gifted membership a year from the date that you activate it. You're going to want to stay an active member. So in closing, and with every good wish for your success, health, and happiness, on behalf of the staff and board of the ISU Alumni Association, we look forward to becoming partners with you in helping you advance your careers, advance your degrees, stay connected to your college, support your alma mater, and network with Cyclones everywhere. And don't forget, activate your one-year gifted membership. Congratulations again, class of 2023. And remember, you are Cyclones for life.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We express our appreciation to Dr. Michael Galimo, Director of Bands, and the ISU Brass Choir, for providing the music for this ceremony. We are also grateful to all the staff who made it possible to coordinate this celebration. Let us give one more round of applause to the class of 2023. I now declare the graduation ceremony concluded. As we conclude, please stand and join graduating Dr. Christina Chester in singing The Bells of Iowa State, and remain standing until the graduation party has left the platform.
I'm very loud.
What's that?
I'm very loud.
Oh.
Don't you worry, they'll hear me.